Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Work Comp Talk. Joining me, as always, well not always, he does
almost all the time.
90% of the time, is Bilal Kassem from Pacific Workers. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you've catched our episodes, I'm pretty sure you found tons of information, specifically if you're going through a workers' comp case. And today's topic is going to be amazing. I promise you, all of our topics are amazing.
All of them.
And by the way, if there's a topic that we have not spoken about or a question you have, drop it on the comments. We'd be more than happy to record a video on it as well. So today, Bilal, we're going to talk about settlements. I know we've talked about settlements in the past, and if you haven't seen those videos, make sure you go on your favorite pod app and download that episode so you can kind of catch up to us. But the difference about today's episode is going to be, when is it the right time to settle?
Yep.
You know, like, we understand there's two different types of settlements, there's different type of benefits that come with each settlement. However, when is it the right time? Is it too soon? Is it in the middle? Is it at the end? So I want to dive into all of those stuff.
Sure.
Tell me. Speak to me.
I don't have a magic answer for you. There's never a right time to sit. No, I'm just kidding.
I was afraid you were going to say that, to be honest with you.
Do you want my lawyer answer?
Yeah?
It depends.
Damn you! See, that's the thing I always hear. It depends. And that's not something you just say. You Google stuff up and it just always doesn't have a concrete answer. But I kind of want a pathway.
Sure.
What does it depends look like?
So work comp cases can go a number of ways, right? Everyone's case is different depending on who your doctor is, who your insurance adjuster is, what attorney you have representing you, what kind of body parts are involved in medical treatment.
Shit, okay, you're going to win the lottery.
Yeah,
hopefully.
There's so many factors that go into it, and I think everyone's case is different, but there's certain signals and times where you can really tell, like, hey, this is a great time to settle your case. I think the number one reason to settle your case, and this is specific to settling by what's called a compromise and release, which means they're buying out your medical care, is if you're not getting the care you need through the insurance carrier. So we have something in work comp called utilization review. Mm-hmm. And it's this process by which the insurance company can deny your medical treatment. So normally if you go to your doctor and they want to do an injection or give you medication, you just walk in, give them your insurance card, and you're good, right?
You're set, yeah.
In work comp, once your doctor says, I want to do X, Y, and Z, then the insurance carrier actually has an opportunity to come back and say no.
And the reason why the insurance does this is because essentially the one paying for all of this is the insurance company.
Yep. And so they have that right to conduct utilization review, and then that's then going to decide whether or not you get the treatment. And so oftentimes you'll see clients get blocked from treatment all the time, whether it's medication, it's injections, chiropractic care, surgeries even if it looks necessary. I just had a client who was denied a shoulder surgery despite having a rotator cuff tear. And so, you have these situations where your doctor's throwing everything they can at it, and the insurance company's denying everything they can through this bullshit but legal process called utilization review, and you're stuck.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's like, why lament and sit going through this workers' comp case, getting nothing done for you, despite whatever your awesome lawyer, if it's our firm, their best efforts are to get you what you need. Sometimes our hands are tied within the system, and so I see situations where the injured worker is being offered a lot of money or enough money to take care of themselves and their injury, and they have like private health insurance.
Good medical doctors.
Yeah, through like their spouse or something like that, and it's like, cool, you can go get whatever you want done like immediately.
However, what if, let's just say you get out of the system, right? Like you're explaining, you have good medical insurance, and then you go to your doctor like, oh yeah, well technically I got injured at work, but I want you to take care of it. Wouldn't the doctor be like, wait, that's work related?
Sometimes, yeah.
So maybe you shouldn't say that.
Well, it depends. It depends, right? So if you go to your doctor when you have an open work comp case and you say, hey, I've got this going on, it's still happening, I've got another work comp doctor, they're going to shoo you away, and because they can't bill you for it. That's why.
Dang.
But so if you go to a work comp doctor and your case is closed and you say, hey, I had this injury, my case is closed, I want you to treat me, they'll treat you.
Okay, cool. Because then essentially they can charge your health insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so they're going to get paid. So they're covered, because it's not like we're trying to screw the doctor in any way, shape,
No. The doctors, they unfortunately, it's for-profit medicine here in America, but the doctors have family, and, they have staff with kids and families too, and rent to pay and stuff like that. So the doctor has to earn money providing medical treatment, and so they just want to know, can I actually get paid if I give you the care you need? So that's kind of a hang-up, but not really once the case is over with.
So this is a scenario, from my understanding, of a person that is getting crappy results, getting denied, is not getting the treatment, and ultimately it's just shit out of luck within the workers' comp system.
Mhm.
However, they are being offered a nice settlement.
Yeah.
Something that be like, okay, that's doable.
Yeah.
What happens when you're in this shitty situation? Same scenario. However, the settlement that's being offered to you is straight up garbage. What happens then?
So that's a really tough spot to be in. It
Yes.
really is. And in work comp, you can't force the insurance carrier to give you money in exchange for the medical care. So meaning if like you were to go to trial at the end of your case, the judge has zero power to say, hey, you know what, Bob, you get $100,000 for future
Yeah.
medical care. That doesn't exist. So whenever the insurance company offers you money to buy out your medical care, it's a completely voluntary process. The question is, how much of a pain in the ass are you going to be, or a financial liability, you know, if you keep your medical open, which then incentivizes the insurance company to say, hey, look, this guy's really treating up a storm. He's costing us boatloads of money. Let's pay him so he goes away. And so sometimes it works out.
Yeah.
And I've got clients and I tell them, look, treat as much as you can. Go as many chiropractic sessions as you can. Go get massage therapy, acupuncture. Run up the tab to your heart's content, because at the end of the day, that's going to motivate the insurance company to buy your medical care if that's your goal. If you're not using your medical care, well, why would the insurance company pay you to buy it out? It doesn't make sense. And so because it's a voluntary process, though, you can have a situation where someone's cost the insurance company boatloads of money in medical care, but the insurance company still wants to lowball them.
Damn.
And I think that's what you're getting at
Yeah.
here. And so, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's a judgment call at that point.
Damn.
So you have a choice between being stuck with the crap insurance that is workers' comp insurance, still subject to all the authorization rules and all that jazz, or you can take whatever it is, the pittance, you know, that is they're offering you to go away. And so sometimes you may say, well, my medical care is worth at least $100,000 and they're offering me 10. So what do? You can't force them to offer more, so you really have to make a choice. Is this crappy amount of money adequate? And sometimes people are like, I'm done with it. Yeah, I'll take it.
I mean, I guess it depends ultimately what your goal is. For example, someone that values their life and trying to get back to normal ASAP, and let's just say you need to have a surgery, and the sooner you get it done, the less repercussions you have from this, or the less effects you have in your body. Shit, give me the 10,000, get me the fuck out of the system.
Yep.
Take me straight to a doctor, because I don't want to torture my body or essentially be more disabled in the long run, because my health is more important than any type of money.
Yeah, and we see that all the time. A lot of people are like, hey, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm suffering. I'm at home. I'm running out of temporary disability, whatever the case may be, and I'm not getting the care I need. And so they're like, whatever, dude, I got great insurance through my wife's insurance or my husband's insurance, whatever. Like, I'll walk in, I'll get my surgery in 2 weeks, and that's the end of it. I'll pay my copay, and I'm good. You know, maybe I have to pay out of pocket, but if I take this money, I can deal with it, and I can be done. And sometimes there's more harm than good done by waiting it out.
Exactly.
You know? So.
That's where I think I was trying to go through. Like, sometimes this harm can be done. And I know I've mentioned this a lot of times. My dad's situation. You know, he had cut his finger wide open. It was like a flower, bloomed. And because he was waiting for all these authorizations, tendons started shrinking, and essentially he lost so much mobility on his hand. Had he not just been like, okay, let me just get this taken care of. Had it been a different situation, had it been where it didn't happen at work, he would have went to a normal doctor, his hand probably would have had more mobility.
How long was he waiting?
He probably waited about a week and a half to 2 weeks before he was able to get surgery, so his hand started healing. So when the fingers started healing, the doctors had to reopen, there was already scar tissue going. Just shit happens again, you know? But this is a short-term just scenario that I saw with my dad. But for someone that has any other type of surgery happening, knee surgery, that it's affecting other body parts or whatever the case may be, it's important. This is going to change. This literally can change the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it's only, sometimes it's maybe the surgery gets authorized, but the post-operative PT does not.
Yeah.
Or this, you know, the post-surgery medication gets authorized, but not the
surgery. That's so
so
stupid, but it
and you see all this shit all the time in work comp, and it makes zero sense. And like, I've actually had clients where they have confidence in the system and their doctor. The surgery, you know, gets authorized. One I saw recently, another shoulder surgery, they didn't authorize all of the post-operative PT, and so they developed something called adhesive capsulitis, which is frozen shoulder, which means they have extreme limited range of motion post-shoulder surgery, which is extremely painful and hard to deal with. and it's a pain in the ass to fix. And it just happened because they only authorized like a fraction of what the doctor wanted for post-operative therapy, so this person didn't get to heal. And so if I was in a position where I'm being faced with an option to try and maybe get some medical, and I don't know whether or not the things I'm going to need afterwards are going to be there for me, like maybe I'll settle. Maybe I'll take the money and run, even if it's not what I think is enough.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to choose your battles and look out for what's best for you in the long term.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're talking about this. So, thinking about a pathway, thinking about the process of the whole workers' comp claim. You started the claim, you know you need surgery, or whatever the case may be. Where does this settlement come in? Rough estimate. Would this happen within the first 4 months, 5 months? Like, because I know some of the settlements come in towards, it could be a year or 2 years later. Like, where does this play?
I would say default, once you're permanent and stationary. That's typically when most settlements come into play, and that's because you have a permanent disability rating, your treatment has kind of plateaued, you've leveled off medically, there's really nothing else to do, whether it's surgery or PT. Your care transitions from like, let's fix you, to like, let's just control your symptoms and like maintain, and maybe you get better or not, but this is it, right?
That's as far as you can get, as far as trying to
and
help
so
you.
that's typically when you see settlement, although you can settle a case really early on. You know, we've had cases where someone got hurt at work, the employer lied and said it didn't happen, and there's supposedly witnesses who are going to testify to that, and the person's stuck between going to trial and getting nothing, or taking a settlement early on and walking away with something. And other times you have a really bad QME and you want to settle before that, or there's a whole host of reasons where you can like settle on day one or day 1 million, right? Like it can go for weeks, months, or years. Every case is different, and every case settles for different reasons.
Yeah. Ultimately it's the goal of the injured worker. What is it that you're setting out to seek out from a workers' comp, claim? There's those that do want the monetary, there's those that want the medical treatment, and there are those that just want really great doctor care, and it depends on what your ultimate goal is.
Definitely. So, not a huge gun nut or anything, but you know what the NRA is, right? And so there was a famous quote from the guy who's president of the NRA, and the saying was, when did they come and take my guns from me? It's from my cold dead hands, right? And so sometimes some of my clients are like that when it comes to settlement. They're like, when is it time to settle? Like when I'm dead. That's to say they want everything that they're owed, right? They want to make sure that every body part's accounted for, that they've got the treatment they deserve, that they get the benefits they deserve, and that everything's done. And then they're like, I'll settle.
Okay, I'm good.
And that's cool. That's great to hear as an attorney, because when we're fighting, multi-billion-dollar insurance companies that have all the time and money in the world, it's great when I get that client who's like, I'll wait. I'm good. Like, take it to them, fight.
As long as it doesn't affect the client.
Yeah, like I don't want them or their family to be homeless or something like that. But if the client's like got a new job, or financially they're secure, or they're retired, or whatever the case it is, that's like I'm a kid in a candy store, because that means I get to stick it to the insurance carrier, and I get to take my time in fighting and being aggressive and making sure everything's done, versus other people have predicaments where fighting the battle means putting their life or their family's life at risk.
Yeah, that's not the fun part.
Yeah, and that's a conversation I have to have a lot too.
Well, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I think it's something that circles into a lot of the clients' heads, or injured workers in general. It's something like, okay, what does this look like? When am I going to get a settlement? Like, where is this going to lead to? And unfortunately, we've always talked about it. It's a very difficult system. And I'm glad you touched on a base earlier where you mentioned something about this is what the client, or the injured worker in this case, thinks is the right thing to do. They think that if the doctor tells them, hey, let's do this, they go with the flow because they've never been in the system, one. They don't know how the system works, two. And they believe it and they trust the system, which is, I think it's, being in workers' comp, in the field, etc., you understand it. But someone that does not and has never been in the system, or has no understanding of how the system works, that's a very bad thing to think. To think that you can actually trust the system. However, there's good cases. There's been cases where everything just flows and everything is great and it works how it's supposed to work.
I agree. There's some cases that just, they flow. Honestly, there's some adjusters out there.
They're awesome.
Shout out to you guys that do your job and really you help the injured worker through the process, and you're good at it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't screw around. You make sure their benefits are paid properly. When you have a permanent disability rating that's way up there, you pay it. Like, you don't fight that much. Like, you're there to process the case, and that's fine. That's great. There's not a lot of those.
No, they get fired right
Yeah,
away.
they get fired. They're told they cut back on costs and such. But I think it's extremely naive to think that the insurance company is, there for you in some sense.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a process, and there's definitely, you start your case, you get injured, you go to your medical treatment. Once your medical treatment's done or as good as it's going to get, you get permanent disability ratings, you get permanent work restrictions, and then boom, settlement. That's kind of like the track most people follow along.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously there's hiccups and roadblocks in between there and when you start stuff. So I think as long as you have an understanding that, one, the insurance company is not your friend, they want to pay you the least amount of money possible, get you out of the system as quickly as possible, and understand that some of the doctors they may send you to are in that same camp, don't listen to them.
I think that's the hard part. It's getting the word out, because I'm going to trust my doctor. If I'm going to go into surgery, I'm hoping that essentially my health is going to the right person. I don't know this person.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to think that when this person became a doctor, they did it in good faith and they really want to look out for me. But that doesn't always happen. There are those that are there for the money.
Oh, 100%. There was what's it called? Pacific Hospital in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
There was a doctor who got kickbacks to the tune of like $6 million or something absurd for referrals to a hospital for surgeries that people really didn't need and stuff. And so it's entirely money motivated. There's these industrial medical clinics that are the largest industrial medical clinics in the country, and they're the #1 insurance provider because, yeah, they treat injured workers like shit and they save money. They'll say, oh, you saw your arm off at work? Like, no, that was
Let me put some Elmer's glue on it, pat it.
No, that was probably pre-existing.
You were born that way.
And so we get clients all the time that come in and like, yeah, I had my first doctor's appointment, and the doctor didn't listen to me, they didn't care, they said I was fine, stop complaining, blah, 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 whatever the case is. Like, we see it all the time. And so there are very much doctors, despite taking a Hippocratic oath to take care of people, are money motivated, and they see the insurance companies as fat stacks of money waiting to
payback.
Exactly, it's a money game.
At the cost of someone's health. And I see it a lot. Hispanic, and maybe in different, I come from a Mexican family, we're Hispanic. There are sometimes our beliefs, particularly my dad, first generation, second generation even. You just have this perception of, you respect your elders, you respect those that have high positions, that's just the person you are, that's what you were taught. You're going to not question the doctor, period.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to me, it's the biggest heartache I get when I hear clients coming into the firm, to Pacific workers, or when I hear stories of those, well, my doctor said it, I'm going to trust my doctor. And deep down inside, I'm like, you don't know your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what motives your doctor has to tell you this. How can you trust your doctor? Because you're entitled to second opinions.
Yep, you're entitled to second opinions. You're entitled to third opinions. You don't have to go with doctor #1 and that's it.
Yeah.
And I think more frequently than not, we actually change treating physicians for clients coming in the door, because usually they have one of these really bad work comp facilities that's insurance oriented. But that being said, there's some fantastic doctors out there as well.
Yeah.
And there's some doctors that I truly believe in and trust and adore as fantastic physicians and just across the board human beings that are there.
Would you
to
trust
help
these
injured
doctors
workers.
with a surgery for you?
Some of them, yes. Some of them, yeah. A lot of the industrial clinics that we work with that aren't insurance oriented, I think the doctors truly believe in medicine and helping people.
That's awesome.
And they're fantastic doctors, and they do really good things for people, and they're patient advocates, and they happen to have a lot of kind of quasi-legal knowledge, being in work comp for so long, that they can help people, and they understand the nuances of how the law applies to medicine, and they use their specialized education and experience to do wonders for clients that the clients or patients in their their situation wouldn't get otherwise. So I really think there are a lot of good doctors in work comp. It's just understanding who's who.
Yeah, knowing those things.
And you won't know that unless you're in the game and you understand and you've been around for a while. If you're Bob, it's your first injury, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So.
And even if it's a new attorney, you really don't know the doctors yet. But when you've been in business for a minute, it's the same doctors essentially. They change, but you know which ones to steer away from, I guess.
Yeah, we know we all know each other. It's a fairly small world, and you've been around long enough, you get to know who's who and who's with who and who favors who and stuff. And the funny thing is, once you start popping up and you're like, wait a second, that doctor is married to that defense attorney, or you know, that defense attorney is that doctor's cousin, or like, you know, and you start realizing like, wait a second,
you're like, I get
fair. Like, you guys are on the same team. There's no way you guys go home and have dinner together and don't talk. You know, like
that's awesome to talk about this. You know, that we're opening up this can of worms, I guess you can say, and we finally defined essentially what it depends means when it comes to a settlement. We walk through what this could potentially look like, scenarios that you could take a look at and just think about to define what it depends when you should settle.
There's a lot, you know, and I feel like we barely scratched the surface, but you know, whether you're fighting an uphill battle, you've got bad doctors, you've got a situation where you're set for trial and it's all or nothing. You know, we see these situations all the time, and really it's a judgment call based on your financial situation, your health situation, you know, how long it is you have to wait, who's depending on you while you're waiting, what your employment needs are. There's all these different reasons, and ultimately these are conversations that we have one-on-one oftentimes with clients, and it's kind of that coming to Jesus talk where it's like, it's very serious, and you really have to weigh all your options and say, if I commit down this path or this path, what are the repercussions going to be? How is this going to impact me and my loved ones? And is this going to be a bad or good decision at the end of the day?
Yeah. And even if you have, and you think you have a seamless claim and shit's running smooth, it doesn't hurt to just have a consultation, honestly. And that's something I advocate for 100%, because one, it's free. You're not, the only thing you're giving up is probably an hour of a phone call, if that. And then of course, there's going to be questions and things that arise that maybe you wouldn't have thought otherwise. And there's nothing but gaining from a consultation. Just speaking to an expert and say, hey, what essentially am I looking at? What should I be worried about? Like, there's just so much to dive into and so much information.
Especially if you're on your own and you're being offered a settlement.
Yeah.
Consult a lawyer. I can't tell you how many times we've like tripled, quadrupled what a client got.
Yep.
And had they taken the settlement, they would have been out a lot of money.
That's
and
crazy.
So, even if everything's going smooth and the insurance adjuster is like offering you money, that should be like red flags galore, right? They don't just throw out money, like, and when they do, it's usually not enough. So they either want to get rid of you, they're trying to lowball you. There's generally some reason there. So
because they know you're going to be a liability for so long, and they'd rather just kind of show some money in your face so that you settle, and they save thousands and possibly millions.
Yep. So I guess when not to settle, don't take the adjuster's first offer. That's when you don't settle.
That's awesome. That's good to know. Well, is there anything else we need to dive into? I mean, again, we just scratched the surface. I definitely think there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah, we could probably sit for like an hour and a half, 2 hours just talking about settlement. It's a huge topic, but
ultimately, I think it's a really good guide for someone that's just getting in the system, or someone that's in the system and is just trying to figure out and puzzle things together. Awesome. Thank you for your time, Bilal. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys next week. Make sure you share this podcast as well, and follow us everywhere on social media as WorkCom Talk or Pacific Workers, the lawyers for injured workers.